Hey, hi, and welcome back to the Southern Millennial Mom podcast. I am Samantha May, and I am your official Southern Millennial Mom. I am so excited to have everybody back. I was nervous, but I was also excited, and the whole advertising myself on my social media platforms was probably the most nerve-wracking part of doing the podcast. So far, so good, I guess. In case you missed episode 1, it is an introduction of myself, because I always think an introduction is very important, especially if you're doing something big like this. I know a lot of podcasters might not do it. I'm not going to say I know. I think a lot of podcasters might not do an introduction. They might just jump into whatever they're broadcasting. But I felt like it was super important that you got to know me so you can understand kind of where I'm coming from. I'm talking about how I grew up a little bit, where I live now, how old I am, which is 36. I'm so excited to be 36. For no particular reason, the number 36 just looks really cool to me. But I'm weird, so you don't have to like what I like. I will let you all know that I'm currently getting over a chest cold. So if for some reason my voice kind of fades out, it's because my lungs are running out of air a little bit faster than normal. And I will try to cut out any of the clearing of the throat or the sinuses. And maybe it's because I have that sensory issue, meso something, where you can't stand listening to people chew. I cannot stand that sound of when people are clearing their sinuses. And it's not that blowing the nose clearing. It's that sound. I can't stand that sound, even from myself. But I do apologize for any coughing, clearing of my lungs that I may make while recording and forget to edit out. But other than that, we are going to jump into today's episode, talking about chores and the importance of them for not only our kids, but also for us as adults. And I just realized how hard I am enunciating the word important. It is not intentional, but I just thought I'd throw that little fun fact in there for you. So I don't know about you as listeners, but I do not remember a time when I was not doing chores. And it's not because, learning to tie your shoe, it's something you're excited to have learned. I kind of remember when I learned how to tie my shoe, or when I learned to really start reading, because those are things that I enjoyed. But I always dreaded doing chores as a kid, because if I got one little thing wrong, I would be punished for it. And I think, unless a child is blatantly doing something wrong, they should not be punished. But if they don't notice something, and sometimes they don't notice that little dust bunny in the corner or under the bed, those little things they like to move, in case you didn't know that. I hated doing chores as a kid, and not because I had a whole lot to do around my house. I grew up in the age without internet for the longest time, and I couldn't really ever go hang out with friends because, one, I either lived too far away from town, or my mother would not take me to go see my friends. And as I was thinking about this episode and what I wanted to talk about, I was also scrolling through my TikTok, and I came across this clip from, I'm assuming was from the Dr. Phil show, and it was about this mother who made her kids do everything in the house while she just sat around and basically did nothing. And that's kind of how I felt like when I was growing up, that, my mother put us in charge of everything that I don't want to say that she should have done, but she could have done if we were like doing schoolwork, because there was a point we were homeschooled a few times, and she would just do very little in actual, helping us with our work. She would get upset with us if we constantly had to ask the same question. And, I was not the academic. I passed. I was an average student. And there's a lot of times I would ask help for a same question, and she would get frustrated with me or my brothers. And, I hated doing chores because of the same thing, because I would ask for help. If I couldn't do something, she would get, well, figure it out. Or you should have done it right the first time if I messed up or if I missed something. And it made me dread wanting to do any of the chores. Like, my least favorite chore in the entire house is washing dishes. Because we didn't grow up with really a dishwasher. Like, on occasion we would have one, but it would break. And, I understand we were not always in the position to get these things fixed. Or my dad couldn't fix it himself. He wasn't that inclined in that kind of thing. But hand washing dishes is my least favorite. But ironically, I worked as a dishwasher and bus girl at a little mom and pop diner in my hometown. Irony. And now that my daughter is older, I'm kind of seeing the same dread in doing chores. And I was never explained why I needed to do chores, that I would have to do them when I moved out or got married and became a wife or just became an independent person. I think, my mother was of the mindset that if she kept us dependent, then we would never move out, we would never get married and never leave her. So she could always have somebody there to tell what to do, to be dependent on her, while she could also be dependent on us. And I think I had that conversation with my husband. I'm trying to make my daughter understand that when, she's going to move out, I'm not of the mind, you're going to move out at 18 or you're going to pay rent. Kind of harsh reality. Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense in a way, so that they can kind of understand that they're going to have to pay rent. They're going to have to keep their own places clean. But I want my daughter to move out, but I don't want her to move out because she can't stand living here. And that's kind of my expectation for her when, having her do her chores, so that she can take pride in her home and want to have her friends and family over and not be embarrassed at the state of her home. And that is something that I had to really learn the hard way as an adult, because, and I really didn't mention this, I don't think, a lot in episode 1, but I struggle with depression and anxiety. And before anybody can go, oh no, another millennial with depression and anxiety, that just seems to be a thing for millennials. It's a thing for every generation. Only we, as the millennials, are finally understanding it is not something that should be hidden. It is something that should be understood, and we should learn coping techniques so that we don't do bad things. Unfortunately, the period that we lived at our last place, we only had company over maybe 5 times, because I did not understand how to cope with my depression and anxiety. And those things, unfortunately, work hand in hand with each other. I would get anxious about being depressed and not wanting to keep my house in a state where somebody could randomly show up and I can invite them in. I would hardly ever, like, if somebody came over, I would just stay on my front porch and talk with them. Yes, there were times my house was clean enough that, come on in. With my depression, it made it hard for me to do that because I would get overwhelmed by the messes that all of us would leave. And by all of us, I mean the humans, the dogs, and probably the worst messes were, when garbage was left out, dog hairs everywhere, dirt from the dogs going and coming inside the house. So the same for the child, and the stuff that was on my husband while he's at work. And unfortunately, my daughter saw for those years how, it kind of looked like I didn't care if my house was dirty. And she learned, it's okay if it's messy. It's okay if there's trash on the floor or dirty dishes lying around. And right now, I think because she, does the complaining, which is normal for kids her age, complains about having to clean. When we moved into this house that we bought 2 years ago, I made a pact with myself and with my husband that I was not going to let it get that far ever again, and that I would do better, be better, because I looked back and I was like, and even while it was happening, I was like, this can't go on. This isn't healthy. Eventually, somebody's going to come to the house and take away my daughter. That's not something I wanted. So my husband and I, we talked, and it was really when our communication started opening up more between us, and I started really asking him for help in doing these chores, even though I felt bad about doing it, because he is the only income bringer to our household, and he works really hard at his job, and I understand that he really doesn't want to have to do anything at home, but because he kept coming home to a dirty house and I was too afraid to ask for his help, it made him not want to be at home. Not that he would go out and do anything, he would just not want to be in the house. He would go to his workshop or choose to help his family over coming home. And that pushed me down more into my depression. And then we really started talking, and was like, it's really hard for me to ask for help. But even though I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my house, while it shouldn't be completely spotless, it should be clean. My husband should feel excitement when he walks into the door, and pride when he walks into the door, as well as my daughter and myself. So when we moved in, we're like, it's not going to get that bad again. Everybody is going to contribute to this household. So I really started enforcing the chores for not just my daughter, but for myself, and keeping my husband accountable for any mess he leaves. And he does the same, but everybody's held accountable for messes that they leave, or chores or responsibilities that they need to do. And when it comes to chores for kids, there are age-appropriate chores, and that's what we're really going to get into concerning kids. But we're also going to talk about the responsibilities of the parents. But first off, we're going to talk about not overwhelming your children with chores, especially if you have one child. They are responsible for a little bit more Well, a lot more than if you had multiple kids. I'm talking from the experience of being one of 3 kids in a household, and also from having just a single child in the household. And when it comes to the littles, children like 5 and under, they can get easily overwhelmed because they have not learned how to separate the big picture into small parts. So we have to learn ways to make it, first off, fun to do these chores, and how to teach them time management when doing these chores. One thing that really always stuck with me in a bad way was when my mother would be like, you have this long to do these things or else you're going to get punished. And it would be a very short amount of time to get a very large job done, especially if it was a first time doing this or if I had struggled with this chore for years and not able to really figure out how to do it well and quickly. So if you are somebody who likes to use timers, don't use it in the way that my mother did. Don't say you have this long to get this job done or else. Use a timer to say, hey, we're going to work for this period of time. Say we're going to work 30 minutes and then we're going to take a break for 15. You can choose the time, the length of time that you or the kids work, but always have it at least your break time the halfway mark, so that while you're not taking as long a break as you are working, you're still taking a break, letting the mind chill out and calm down. Because again, the littles will get overwhelmed by these chores because they can't see the small parts in the big picture. Also, and this is something that it's taken me a while to agree with my husband on, but we don't believe in paying our daughter an allowance for doing the chores. And I kind of explained this to Boo and her friend the other day because they were talking about it for some reason, talking about getting an allowance for doing chores. And you really shouldn't be paying your kids to do something that they should already be doing or they will already be doing as an adult in their own home, because nobody pays me to do the laundry. Well, technically I get paid to do laundry because I'm a stay-at-home mom, but nobody's going to pay them for keeping their house cleaned. What we will pay Boo for as, I guess, an allowance, if she goes the extra mile and really has one thing, like when she starts doing all of these chores without having to be told, I may pay her for a short amount of time. But, eventually that will stop because it'll start becoming routine. She comes home, she does these chores. It'll just be routine, it'll be habit. But again, this is just our opinion. If you want to pay your kids for doing their chores, go for it. But these chores are something to teach them to become independent, good, hardworking adults when they move out. Hopefully they'll move out. Hopefully. Let's get into the children's age-appropriate chores. I looked up this stuff when Boo was getting to the age where she could help around the house. And I was like, okay, what chores are good? I asked around. Because I grew up in the generation of Pinterest, I scoured Pinterest for chore lists for certain ages. And I came across a lot that had a lot of the same things, but a few differences. And it's all up to you as the parent and what you're comfortable and what you're allowing your kids to do. We're going to start off with ages 3 to 5 with those littles. So first off, we're going to start kind of in the bedroom. The first thing that you should be teaching them is to make their bed, because they should be out of their cribs into their toddler beds or their big kid beds, whatever you want to call it. Show them how it's done and encourage them or entice them. It's like, don't you like getting into a made bed instead of having to straighten out your blankets when you go to bed? And I know, because they're littles, they may fall asleep before you can get them into bed and you have to carry them into bed. But let them see how pretty a made bed can be, or how nice, depending on, the kid. Then they can get into picking up toys. And this is where that overwhelming sensation may come for them, especially if they have played really hard in either their bedroom or if you have a playroom. Start off with, let's pick up the big toys, put them where they go, and then the not so big toys and the tiny toys, and let's pick up the art stuff. Give them a specific task. While they're doing that, you can have them pick up whatever dirty laundry they have on their floor, if they like to get themselves dressed and undressed. Now, I don't have this on my list, but I saw it a few times. If they have like hard surface floors and no carpets, a lot of the suggestions were to let them Swiffer their floors. And it wasn't something that I did with Boo. If her floor needed to be swept, I would sweep it for her. But again, it's all about what you as the parent are comfortable and confident in your child doing. And as we're talking about the laundry, let them help swap the laundry from the washer to the dryer. If you have a top load wash like I do, have like a step stool for them, or they may already have a step stool because, kids. Grab a dining room chair so that they can climb up on it and switch the stuff over. Littles really love to help, even though sometimes it can get aggravating when they are constantly saying, "Mommy, let me help," or something along those lines. And if you have littles that are kind of struggling with the whole picking up process, let's pick up the big things and moving size down. It's like, okay, I have this specific thing in mind that I see the person that picks it up and puts it away first gets a prize. And that was a suggestion by Gwen Lathland from the podcast Childproof that I talked about in the previous podcast. It's one of her TikToks. I don't think she's talked about it in the actual podcast yet, but I was like, oh, that's really kind of genius, especially if you have littles really close to the same age and they like competing with each other. But actually have a prize for them. And if you can't think of a good prize, ask them what they would like, so that if you play the game again, they'll be excited because, hey, I'm going to get a prize for cleaning this. And it's basically the same thing as when you're potty training them, if you reward them for doing their potty training and whatnot. Also, with the laundry, if you are comfortable with letting your kids put away certain articles of clothing, let them do that too. Now, remember, this is ages 3 to 5. If they have watched you put away the clothes and they say, "Mommy, I can do it," or "Daddy, I can do it," let them do it. If they do it wrong, that's fine. Let them make the mistake and gently correct them. And I said something about letting them like Swiffer a floor, their bedroom floor, if it's a like hard surface floor. Swiffer is also, that little dusty thing. Let them dust the low areas like the baseboards or low shelves. Obviously, not the ones that have all the breakables on it, but, let them help with the dusting and keeping up with that. If you have pets, let them feed the pets. For the longest time, we just did dry kibble with our dogs, and Boo watched me when she was little, watched me do it, and that became her chore in this age group. And she just had to put this certain amount in their bowls, set their bowls in their designated areas, done in 10 minutes or less, depending on how excited the dog was and the avoidance of trying to spill the dry kibble. Now it's a little bit more complicated now that our dogs are a little bit older. Their feeding process has gotten a little bit more complicated, but feeding the dogs is still Boo's responsibility. And no, I do not let my dog starve if she's not home. Either myself or my husband will feed them if she's at home, if she's spending the night somewhere, or if she's not home at their usual feeding time, because we love our dogs. Now, I don't know if this is just a my family thing or other parents do this, but a rule in my house is if you don't go grocery shopping with whoever's going grocery shopping, you have to put away the groceries. Now, obviously, that really kind of doesn't apply to the littles because they are the ones coming with you unless they are in school or daycare or whatnot. That's just the rule that we have in our house. Though Boo is responsible for putting away any non-cold frozen items if I go grocery shopping while she's in school. My husband really does not like this rule. He thinks it's silly, especially if I just did a grocery pickup. But hey, somebody worked really hard to pick out my groceries. I will help put away groceries, but the littles can help bring in the groceries, bring in all the lightweight items, and if they can reach wherever these groceries are stored, let them help put the groceries away. And I'm sure there's a lot more that can be talked about for this age group, 3 to 5, but these are the ones I kind of thought were really important. So we are going to move on to the next age group of 6 to 9. Yes, there is a bigger gap in the ages because they can accomplish more of these small time chores than in the last one, and these chores aren't going to be as time consuming as in the upcoming age group. Now again, and I'm going to constantly repeat this, it depends on what you're comfortable and confident in your child doing when it comes to chores of any age. For me, ages 6 to 9, they are old enough to actually use a broom to sweep. If that is what you use and you don't have one of those robot vacuums that's scheduled to clean, that they can sweep and mop, a designated room, their room. They're big enough, strong enough by now to be able to do that. I was a little confident and comfortable in Boo mopping, but I kind of enjoy mopping for some weird reason. I don't know why, don't ask. But by now, they're old enough to do it, and they have probably watched you a lot of times doing it. Again, if you don't have one of those little robot vacuums that vacuums and mops, because those are a thing now, and hopefully by now, you can trust them to empty and load the dishwasher. Obviously, sharp things should be watched over. Make them understand the safety of sharp knives and glass things that can go into the dishwasher. Show them how to put it in there, where to put the soap, what cycles to run for what load of dishes. Simple. We're still talking about the kitchen right now. They can take out the trash to the outside bin. At our last place, we kept our bin by the house because we had a long driveway and we really didn't like keeping our garbage can out because we had to replace, I want to say we had to get a new garbage can at least twice at our old place because somebody had stolen ours. Seriously, why would you steal a garbage can? It doesn't make any sense. And while they're outside taking out the trash, they can help with yard work, raking leaves, weeding the flower beds, cleaning up the yard so mom or dad can mow the lawn. Easy things that they can do and not get overwhelmed by. And another kind of outside chore that they can be responsible for is cleaning out the back seat of whatever vehicle they ride the most in or that they ride in, because that's where they sit and that's where their stuff is and that's where their garbage ends up. By now they should be old enough and capable enough to read a to-do list. If your kids are like mine and they can't just go through a list, clean the back seat, vacuum, just in general things, I started making lists. Since we're talking about the back seat of a vehicle, clean the back seat, pick up all the big trash, pick up all the little trash, pick up any pencils and any writing utensils, take in anything that doesn't belong, detailed lists, because eventually, you can make those clean bathroom, clean bedroom, clean back seat of car kind of lists, and they'll know what to do without having to be told step-by-step instructions. But when it comes to cleaning out the car, don't make them do it by themselves. You be in charge of cleaning all the rest of it. Clean out your front seat, clean out your trunk or the trunk area so that they're not out there either getting distracted or overwhelmed by themselves. They see you doing it, so they're gonna do the work as well. And they can vacuum. Either the back seat or in the house, they can vacuum a room. Again, show them the way you would like them to do it and, gently correct them if they do it wrong or they missed certain spots and they didn't know how to do certain things or if they're allowed to move things. Because I got a lot of, I didn't know I could do that kind of responses when I would ask Boo, why didn't you just move this so that you could vacuum under it? I didn't know I could do that. Yes, sometimes it's an excuse, which I really hate, but sometimes they literally don't know that they can move furniture or that they're allowed to move furniture or things to vacuum or sweep and mop. They can also clean their own bathrooms now. Boo has basically had her own bathroom her entire bathroom using life. When she was old enough to use her own bathroom and take her own showers or baths. Obviously, again, it depends on the products you use. I would not let her use cleaning products like the toilet bowl cleaner or the harsher chemicals for cleaning the tub or the counters. Let them clean the mirrors. That's always fun. Cleaning a mirror is always so satisfying, especially if you have a really great glass cleaner. Let them clean their own bathrooms. If they share a bathroom with a sibling, obviously split up those chores. I am mostly talking about the responsibilities of an only child. If you have multiple kids that share a bathroom, split up the responsibilities, make it easier, again, so that the kids don't become overwhelmed or it won't get done in a timely manner. And now we're moving to the kitchen with chores for the kitchen again. they're old enough by now to start either helping or making their own lunches, because by now they know what they like, and for school lunches especially, they know what they like and what they don't like. And if they're like Boo, they can make their own rolled sandwiches, or they can put together a salad, or toss in an Uncrustable with applesauce, juice pouch, whatever. During the summer breaks, teach them how to make some ramen. Boo goes through as many packs of ramen during her summer break as a college student does during the school year. So there's that. And that's kind of their first introduction into cooking and, creating a meal, which is really, really, really helpful for later on in life. In this age group, also part of kitchen responsibilities, they can help clean up after dinner. They can help put away the leftovers. Or, again, confident in your kids and comfortable letting them put all that stuff away and cleaning up after dinner. If you're like me and I often don't have time to clean up after myself while I'm cooking because I'm doing 37 different things while I'm cooking, prepping, and I just find myself not having time to do all of these things. But they can help, clean up afterwards. Again, great thing to learn when they become an adult. Now we're going to move on to the next age group. I wanted to label it 10 plus, but I felt like that was very broad. So I did 10 to 13s. And I really didn't look up. It was mostly the ages 3 to 9, where I kind of needed help understanding what chores were kind of appropriate for those ages. But from ages 10 to 13, now Boo's only 12, but I tossed in 13 since, she's going to be 13 next year. By age 10, I kind of understood, was comfortable and confident in her doing select chores and not doing things. From ages 10 to 13, they are old enough by now to do their own laundry. If laundry is something you love doing, good for you, and you knew that was coming, don't do your kids' laundry when they finally get into those double digits. And I know that is going to be a struggle because you don't want other parents or teachers or anybody else being like, "Ooh, can't believe their mom let them go to school in dirty clothes." By ages 10 to 13, they're old enough to kind of understand, they don't want to be the smelly kid. And that sounds so bad because there are a lot of kids that struggle with this kind of thing. And it's no fault of their own. If your kids have the knowledge and capability of doing their laundry, because one, they've watched you do it, they have helped you do it, they have no excuse to be able to not do their own laundry. When Boo turned 10, I became confident in her being able to. She was already washing and drying her own laundry, and that's, 7 to 9, I guess. You tell them the amount of detergent, whatever you use in your laundry, they can do that. In the 6 to 9, I should have added that, but 10 to 13, they can wash, they can dry, they can fold, and put away because they know where everything goes. And when it comes to the folding, I know a lot of people are stuck on my way of doing this is the right way. But is it though? As long as the clothes are not hanging out of the drawers, you have no reason as the parent to be digging through their drawers unless, you're worried about your child. But if they don't want to do their laundry, let them go to school in dirty clothes. Let them suffer the consequences. Because if you are constantly doing these things for your child, they are not going to know how to do them when they become an adult. And if something happens to you and you can't do it for them in the future, they're going to be lost. Yes, you can remind your child to do their laundry. Say, hey, this day is your laundry day. If you are lucky enough to only have, set days where you do the laundry and you don't get overwhelmed by it, do that for them. Say, hey, this day you do your laundry. That way they know in the future, okay, I'm going to do my laundry on this day. And while their laundry is sitting in the dryer, getting dry, they can take the trash out to the curb. If you live somewhere you're comfortable letting them do that and confident that they know to pay attention to the road and whatever traffic is going by, having them put the outside bin in its designated area. Right now, where we live, we just leave our outside bin on the side of the road. Boo will, if I need her to take out some trash to the outside bin, she will put it in our ATV and she can drive the ATV to the bin, put it in the bin, and then drive back. Before anybody gets all up in arms about you're letting your 12-year-old drive an ATV, it is no different than them driving a golf cart or one of those little Barbie cars. It is also teaching her when she gets older how to drive a car, how to be responsible, how to pay attention. That's another thing, teach them certain life skills like driving the golf cart, or if they get one of those little battery powered cars, teach them how to drive properly. Because I feel like so many kids now are lacking. Like they do well on the test because they have to get their license. But then they throw all of those rules and cautionary tales out the window until something bad has to happen to them to make them realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this. I personally have been in way too many close encounters with careless high schoolers and college students to allow my daughter to be reckless on the road. So I'm teaching her, and my husband is teaching her proper driving etiquette now, so that crap doesn't happen, so that she doesn't cause somebody to get into a wreck, or she doesn't get into a wreck when she's older. And by now, since they're outside, they're old enough to mow the lawn. Yes, if that's dad's thing, that's good. And they can weed eat or weed whack, wherever you're from, whatever you call it. They can handle that kind of thing, or use the leaf blower or snow blower, whatever. Because I live in Mississippi, we really don't have to worry about a lot of snow. And if we get it, it doesn't last very long. But in the age group of 6 to 9, they can help shovel snow. Even if all they do is shovel the walkway or sweep it off of the porch, whatever. They can help with that task as well. But dads, teach your daughters, if that's all you have, teach your daughters how to correctly mow the lawn, correctly weed eat, weed whack, again, whatever you do, wherever you live. Teach them how to do that. And there's something kind of calming about mowing the lawn, even though your body some part of your body becomes numb because of all the vibrations. And eventually, if there's, that I know there are some, and a friend of mine has one, the robots that can mow the lawn, still teach them how to do it. Because the apocalypse is going to happen. They're not going to have the robots do everything for them. True, they may not also have the lawn mowers either. They may have to use one of those scythe thingies. Or that roller mower. I can't remember what it's called. But it's just a wheel of blades that will mow the lawn. And by now, with all of those chores done, they've done their laundry, they've mowed the lawn, they've showered. It's dinner time. Let them help you cook. By now, they understand how to handle knives, how not to cut themselves. Obviously there are accidents, because there's accidents that happen to adults as well. But they can help you mix things. They can help cut up vegetables, fruits, meats, whatever. Teach them the proper hygiene for handling what meats. Really enforce that knife safety, because nobody needs a trip to the hospital for stitches or salmonella. Teach your kids how to cook. Teach them how to cook. It doesn't have to be just mom. If dad's a great cook, let him teach him how to grill. Especially if you live in a place where bad weather causes your power to go out often, knowing how to grill is basically a life skill. You can cook a lot of stuff on the grill. Now that your kids know how to do all of these chores, you also have to be aware, especially during the school year, that they need some time to relax and chill out after coming home from 8 hours of learning. Just like any adult needs chill out time after working an 8-hour shift or a longer shift. Just like you need to relax after work, they need to relax a little bit after school. If you want them to get the dishes done or to do their laundry, and it's not an arduous task, let them do that, but give them time to also relax, come down from that school mindset. And obviously, in between all of these chores, especially if you have just one kid, give them that break time and then have them do their homework. And if they're in band, have them practice their instrument. Unless they're a prodigy and they can just play anything at any time, still have them freaking practice their instrument. Have a specific weekend or a couple of weekends where you do all these major chores. Don't try to get them everything done throughout the week. You still got the weekend. If they have activities on the weekends, schedule your chore doing activities on the weekend with their school things or after school curricular activities. I'm repeating that a lot, but have a set time for specific chores, just like doing the laundry on a specific day for your preteens and teenagers. Now we're going to talk about the responsibilities for the parents. If you're like me and you're a stay-at-home mom, you have a lot of time to get a lot of stuff done. If you don't have, obviously, babies or toddlers running around, you have to keep eye on them. But if you don't have any littles running around causing chaos, a stay-at-home mom's had a lot of time. Get the laundry done, sweep what needs to be swept, vacuum, mop, do all these things. As mothers, It is our job to manage our household, to, hand out the chore lists to both kids and husbands. It is our job to be responsible for making sure everybody has everything they need, like clothes, food. Again, as they get older, responsibilities change for both children and parent. Dads, your responsibility is to be the head of the household, to make sure that your children are respecting and honoring yourself and your wife. It is your job to take care of the vehicles, take care of any major fixes around the house. If your wife has like a honey-do list for you, it's because she's feeling overwhelmed and or she can't do certain things and she knows that you can. I know the things that I'm capable of doing and the things I'm incapable of doing. I think I said that right. Anyhow, I know the things that my husband can do. Yes, I can learn to do a lot of the things that he can do, but he finds pride in taking care of the house in general and mowing the lawn, making sure my car is running, either that I have gas or that I have money for gas. But you two parents, as if there's two parents, obviously, there's situations where there's only one, but if there are two, have set tasks for each other. Don't belittle your significant other for not getting these things done if you know that they had time to do this and they couldn't get it done. Say, hey, did you need help doing this? Don't belittle your significant other, because then they won't want to do anything for you, because you are treating them like a child, like you are their parent. And that is a discussion my husband and I have had a lot recently, is that nobody wants, when they're little, they're like, Mommy, I want to marry you. Daddy, I want to marry you. That's cute and everything. But when you become an adult, you do not want to marry your mother. You do not want to marry your father. But no adult really wants to be treated like a child, like they are inept in some way. So when you get married, it's like, hey, these are the things that I want to be responsible for, and these are the things that I feel like you could accomplish better than I could. If your husband is a better cook, let him do the cooking. If your wife can take care of the cars better than the man, there's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of women mechanics who grew up working on cars with their dads. Let her do it if she is confident in doing that. It's all conversation. One, before getting married, and also before having kids. But, have expectations of what you and your spouse are going to be responsible for, or you and your partner, whatever. And I think that is a good place to end for this episode. So that's where we're going to end. I hope you enjoyed listening to this as much as I kind of enjoyed making this. When it comes to chores for kids, again, it's all about what you're comfortable and confident in your child doing. But don't let your lack of confidence make them feel less than if they can't do something. Instruct them on how to do it correctly, but don't be mean about it. If your child is, one, old enough to read, but also gets really overwhelmed by big tasks in cleaning rooms and whatnot, make that step-by-step to-do list And as they get older and more confident and less overwhelmed, shorten that list to just clean the bathroom, clean the bedroom, wash the car, mow the lawn, whatever you're comfortable and confident in your child doing. Let them make mistakes. Let them learn from it. And maybe there would be something that they do that you go, oh, I never thought about doing it like that before. Occasionally the kids have good ideas, and if they are stuck on doing their way of doing something, say, okay, I'll listen to your idea, but let me listen to the idea, and then all right, let me tell you why this won't work. But do it kindly, be kind to your children. Don't make them feel stupid. Don't make them feel like the maid or the house manager. Let them grow up to become independent adults that are kind of sad when they move out, but also proud that they can do things that others can't. You can be proud of them too. All right, I'll see y'all on the flip side. I love you. Bye.